All right, you start it off.
All right, what's going on, guys? Dan here again from DYD Performance, here with Keegan Maloney. Today we're talking about fasting. So basically, Keegan, I guess I just wanted to start with, okay, we should make sure everyone knows we're no experts, right? We not nutritionists, not dietitians, so I have my master's in exercise physiology. I took a couple nutrition classes in school, but all of my nutrition knowledge is basically on my own research, and I would say Keegan's is the same.
I mean, all of mine's basically on my own experience, so
Yeah.
I honestly don't even really research. I just kind of go what works for me, and that's what we'll be talking about
Okay.
today.
All right. So, like I said, today's topic is fasting. The reason I brought the book over, I don't know, I read this book probably like 3 or 4 months ago, and I really liked it, at least the first half anyway of the book, because I think it kind of explained fasting in a little bit more like understandable way. Like I feel like I have a better understanding of why it works, in my opinion.
So it's more like backed up by science and tells you kind of
Yeah, a little bit. So the one thing I would say, so you know me, like I really like to see like peer-reviewed research, journal articles. But with that being said, like they do reference some, but I've done a lot of my own research, like I said, and I really feel like fasting is one of those things, like I really wanted to do a podcast about it, because I feel like it's one of those things I wish I would have experimented with fasting much earlier. And so we're going to get into that, I guess, today. So why don't you first tell everyone just a little bit about yourself, Keegan, your experience maybe.
with fasting.
Yeah, sure. Or just like kind of how you got started on your fitness journey, I guess, a little background.
Okay, so I was always big into fitness because I played sports growing up, and I was always trying to be the best athlete possible. And that includes your diet, so I was trying to figure out what was best to put in my body. And I came along, I don't know, you kind of introduced me to fasting. You
Yeah,
kind of told me about it. I didn't really know what it was.
a while ago.
And then without even realizing it, I guess I was kind of doing it because I'm not a big breakfast person, so I didn't really eat breakfast. And I would probably eat around 12, and I probably would stop eating around 8.
Did you start doing it in high school?
Yeah, because I just didn't eat breakfast.
But
I didn't know that it was fasting. I didn't know what I was doing.
because I remember you asking me about it.
Yeah.
Like if what you were doing was fasting. I think that is actually a misconception. I think anyway, is a lot of people don't realize like every single person fasts. I mean, when you're sleeping, you're fasting.
Just
So
depends on the window.
yeah, exactly. It depends on the length. So I think that's a misconception a lot of people get wrong with intermittent fasting. And we'll touch on some extended day fasting here a little bit. I don't know what but yeah, anyway, continue with what you're.
So right now I've been fasting for the past probably 6 months, where I don't eat breakfast, I don't even eat lunch, I don't even eat till like 5 o'clock. So
How often would you say you do that?
every day.
Every day religiously?
I'm gonna say there's probably one day out of the week where I don't.
Okay.
But yeah,
Well, so what's
I
that one day out of the week look like? Like you would maybe have breakfast?
I wouldn't even have breakfast.
Like maybe you have an earlier lunch?
Yeah, I mean, mainly it's just if I'm at work and there's like food in front of me and I'm super hungry, or just like it's just been a
I think
while.
that's a problem a lot of people.
Yeah.
Everyone's saying here, like, what about when they bring donuts in Friday morning?
That's what
like,
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like I'll see a donut or something, I'm like, damn, I haven't had a donut all week. This can be a little cheap meal. So I'll have a donut, but like I don't ever really go out of my way to like make a meal and bring it to work. That's the only time I break my fast is if there's food in front of me and it looks good, and
I would
like,
agree.
you know what, whatever. It's just one day.
Well,
But-
wouldn't you say that's a good? For me, that's an advantage I found with fasting, is like it's super flexible.
Yeah.
So I talk about that a lot. Like one thing with me, like if I like consistency is really something that I'm working on. But with fasting, like some days I don't do it.
Which is
I mean,
okay.
yeah, and it is okay.
It is okay.
You know, like I feel like you can make fasting fit your however you want, want it to be. So
Exactly, and that's like with a book like this, I'm sure it breaks down all the different ways to do it. But like for me, I didn't even really look online to see what was best. I just plugged and played to see what was best for me. And I found that, I mean, what would that window be? I probably started eating at 5, stopped eating around like 9. So that's
Is that your window?
That's a 20-hour fast.
Yeah.
So I'm still eating the same amount of food, but just in a shorter window.
Yeah. I would say I usually try to be sleeping most nights by 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Just because I'm waking up by, 4:20 in the morning. So,
Okay.
I usually try to get to bed by 9. So my window is usually, this is not every day, but like 4 to 7, 4 to 8.
Okay.
5 to 8, so like 3-4 hour eating window is probably pretty standard for me. But I've also done, like today, I'm going to do an extended day fast, so I'm actually not going to eat anything at all today. I'm going to fast until 3 o'clock tomorrow. We're having an early Christmas on my dad's side, so yeah.
When you have an extended day fast like that, do you find that it's better to break the fast with certain foods than with other foods?
I would say I'm not as experienced in that yet. So, like the one night, for example, so I've done 3 fasts over 45 hours now.
Okay.
And I've done one complete 48-hour fast. The other 2 were like 45, 46 hours.
Okay.
One of the times the only thing I ate actually that night was one of my smoothies. Broccoli sprouts, kale, spinach, bunch of protein, and I shouldn't say bunch of protein, but some protein. That's what I broke it with, and that's actually the only thing I ended up eating that night. That's the only thing I was hungry for.
Okay.
So that was after the 48-hour fast. The other thing though too, when I do the next fast, I'm gonna do not including this fast won't be that hard for me now. So I don't know. Do you do much extended day?
I actually haven't.
What's the longest you fasted?
I mean, I've definitely went a day without eating, but that wasn't that wasn't intentional.
Unbelievable.
No, it's still
Damn,
good.
that's
No
all
way.
right. Do the rest of the podcast with a coffee stand.
What was I saying?
How good? Longest
days
amount you fast?
I mean, since I've been more aware of this, I haven't even done a full day without eating. But I have.
You have before,
but it wasn't I'm fasting.
That's funny. My buddy Mike just texted me yesterday. You would be so proud of me. I'm fasting 27 hours.
Really?
Yeah, and he inadvertently did it. It was one of those things he didn't mean to. He just I don't know, for whatever the circumstances were at work or whatever, he hadn't eaten. And that's the thing, is most people have done that before.
Right.
If you actually look, think back, a lot of people, and they reference this in the book, I believe, talk about how people get sick. Most of the time when somebody's sick, the last thing they want to do is eat.
Right.
And that's your body, when your body wants to get rid of something, you don't eat. And that's, again, I would recommend reading this book. I really liked, they broke it down, the reasons why, some of the mechanisms within our body, where we've evolved from, why why fasting's a good thing.
Yeah.
I'll just touch on a couple. Really, with fasting for me, so one of the biggest benefits I've found is my appetite. Do you have that? Do you feel your appetite
decreased?
has decreased? So with me, now I don't know. I mess my appetite up a lot because with when I first started, I would try to overconsume as many. I used to think I had to get 4,000 or 5,000 calories in a day just to put on muscle. All of that, I went through all of that. So I feel I've messed my appetite up enough to I didn't know I was just hungry all the time. I feel a lot of people are that way.
And I feel people have the notion that if you fast,
you're going to be really hungry, and that's not the way it works.
It's actually opposite. After about a week, when you get used to it, you'll realize you don't need as much food as you're eating.
Yes, exactly. And so that's what would be interesting, Keegan. I would really like to know what happened if you would do an extended day.
Right.
Because I noticed for me, when I did that 48-hour fast, it's almost like I had an appetite reset. And it's okay, now I kind of, that set point of where the amount of food I need to eat to feel satisfied, that set point dropped dramatically. And I mean, people have noticed, myself, even within the last like couple months, like I've leaned out primarily, and people have been asking me like what I've been doing, and it's literally just intermittent fasting. I just haven't been eating. And now I want to preface this.
Well, this is not for everyone. Eating. You said you haven't been eating. You have been eating.
Oh no, sorry, just haven't been eating as much. Okay. Yeah, because of the fasting, I think anyway. I mean, and here's the thing, like so I'm trying to do this like no bullshit thing where I try to be as honest as I possibly can. Guys, I don't eat very healthy all the time. Yeah, for sure not. No. Sia, my girlfriend, would back that up. Like but I mean, we do eat. I would say we probably eat a lot healthier than the average American eats most of the time, but we still have
chicken and rice every day.
No, yeah, like we're not eating chicken and broccoli and rice every day, like, and obviously like I'm not a fitness model. I would never go be on a cover of a magazine, but feel like I'm pretty healthy. And it's not like, and I've honestly in the last 10 years, these last few months, I've probably worked out the least that I have in the last 10 years. Not saying I don't work out. I work out a lot smarter right now, and not necessarily the duration as much.
So is it more like you're listening to your body?
100%, absolutely, and that's kind of like that's what I feel like fasting has allowed me to do. Is it's kind of put me back in tune with my body and like what I actually need. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah, like what I need to sustain like my body the way it is. Yeah, I'm not single digit body fat by any stretch. Like I'm not, but I'm comfortable. Like I eat whatever the hell I want. If that means like 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, like I'll eat it. So like my relationship with food has gotten way better than it has been in a long time. Again, though, that's me. That's not I'm not saying everyone struggles with food the way I have, and I should probably do another video on that because that's a thing I think a lot of people struggle with. But I don't think you ever. It's funny because I did that podcast with your mom a couple weeks ago for that reason. Like you guys, out of all athletes I've ever worked with, and I've worked with athletes at every level, and I've seen there's definitely some athletes at the college and professional level that take their diet to, serious extremes. But you were interested in diet and training when you were in like 10th grade. Isn't that when you first started working with me? Like you were asking me questions about that back then. I don't feel like a lot of kids that age are in that boat.
I just feel like I was brought up eating fairly healthy, so like.
Because why? Because that's just all that was around the house?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, like, when I was younger...
And you were okay with that?
Well, when I was younger, I hated it. And I'd always be so mad at my mom. Because I'd go to my friend's house and see all this, like, Oreos and junk food, and I'd come home and I wouldn't have it. But now I'm actually thankful for it because it built good habits for me. And now I'm glad I don't have that stuff. Okay. So now I'm not buying that stuff for myself in my house because I never had it growing up.
See, I would say that's one of the biggest messages I guess I would want to relay to everyone is like, because so many times I hear people talk to me and they're like, I want to start eating healthier, but I have 3 kids to feed. Like, trust me, I do get it. I do understand, like, it's not always the easiest when you have, kids to feed. And I will be the first to say I don't have that. So I don't have that issue. So I can't speak for that. I know a lot of people do have kids. But you're a testament to, like, just having healthier food options around. I'm sure it's not like you never had
it's not like
junk food.
Insanely strict, but just it was probably like an 80-20 rule.
That's so funny. Your mom said that exact thing. I think that was the exact breakdown.
Yeah.
She said 80-20.
I feel like it was about that.
Yeah. I feel like that's that 80-20 rule. I don't know what it is, but that's a ratio for a lot of things. Business, well, we could go into a whole, but that 80-20, I like that because I would say, honestly, like if I actually tracked it, I would say that's what Sia and I do also. Yeah. I mean, there's not too many days where we don't have a decent amount of vegetables. Right. At dinner we usually try to make some sort of broccoli, Brussels sprouts, asparagus. You know, like I said, I have a smoothie every other day. Put vegetables in that. Obviously, a lot of vegetables. I don't know. I feel like that's one of those things where, like, wouldn't you say vegetables is just a thing that most people just don't eat enough of?
Yeah.
I would say so.
I feel like most people just eat carbs.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's the majority of their diet, because that's pretty much everything.
It's funny because most people, primarily eat carbs, and I've actually backed way off on how strict I am with like carbohydrates, and I feel so much better. But yes, to your point, I think a lot of people forget vegetables are carbohydrates. If you eat a lot of vegetables, you are going to get carbohydrates. You are going to notice, like, you'll feel a lot fuller. You won't crave. I'm not saying you're not going to crave. The cravings for those high sugary foods won't be as much.
Right.
And at least that's in my opinion. I always cook my vegetables in olive oil. Is that similar to you?
Honestly, vegetable-wise, I eat more of just because it's easiest for me right now, like pre-made salads.
Oh, okay.
Like in a bag,
okay, yeah.
And then I just put the sauce.
Like spinach, kale.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just because it's easiest for me, so I don't really cook my vegetables as much.
Okay.
But when I do, I would use avocado oil.
Avocado oil. Yep, avocado oil is good. Coconut oil, obviously. That's.
It doesn't taste as good though.
Yeah.
When you cook like vegetables with it, I've noticed.
With
coconut oil.
Yeah. Yeah, for some, so the reason olive oil, I believe, is so good is it's pretty high in omega-3s.
Yeah.
And like that's something like fish oil obviously is another good one. But that's, I guess, again, that's what I love about fasting. Bringing it back to fasting is I feel like I can eat, my diet's a lot more varied now. And like I actually want to eat the vegetables, I want to eat the meat, the lean cuts of meat. We have fish a lot, lean beef, we eat deer meat. Like we have a lot of that stuff, but then we do eat carbohydrates. We eat potatoes, we eat rice, we eat, we're not real big into quinoa or anything like that, but
For me, it's like, I still have, I have a pretty bad sweet tooth. So
I do too.
If I always am craving like something sugary, but it's just about having discipline. But if I do break my fast, like say I come home and there's like a cookie on the table or something, and that's how I break my fast. Yeah. I notice it's like, then all of a sudden the sweet tooth just goes through the roof.
Okay.
I just have to eat. Then I just I can't stop.
Yeah. So like before, when you asked what I broke my fast with, I guess I was thinking on the extended day. But okay, so if we're talking like breaking my fast. Yes, I would definitely notice a difference. Like I've noticed a difference with my energy level after I break my fast. And sometimes, obviously, if that whole like breakfast, most important meal of the day, like I'm sorry, I just don't believe. And the more and more I talk to people, I feel like more and more people are the way you and I are, where we wouldn't need to eat breakfast.
I've never really ate breakfast growing up.
See, and I think I did because I made myself. I always followed that 6 meal a day. Yeah. I mean, hell, there was a time there where I was eating 8 meals a day, and I was trying to eat 500 to 700 calories every meal, and I was eating 7 or 8 meals of that a day.
Right.
But we should also, with this whole fasting thing, we should also be clear, like the athletes, like the kids I train right now in high school, I wouldn't recommend fasting. Yeah. Most of the athletes I train, they have to gain weight. Yeah. And in that, I would say you have to eat as often as you can. Really? The problem I see with them now is we're talking about quality of food, which is also that we can get into.
It's probably harder when you're in high school, but for me,
for sure,
the more that I fast, or intermittent fasting, when I have like a 20-hour fast, I actually gain muscle faster than if I'm not eating throughout the day.
It's funny. Okay, so I'll find the study. I'll reference the study in the video, in the notes. But, and I believe the book references it as well, or references one of the studies. But they have, most of the research would say that you actually retain your muscle growth better with intermittent fasting. Yeah. So, like what they compared it to is like a low-calorie diet, where you're consuming less calories than what you're burning every day. And they actually compared that to an intermittent fasting, and there's something different with your hormones. And I personally, now that this is me, now this is my opinion, this is not any of the research, I think it's got something to do with your insulin spikes. Every time you eat, your insulin rises, obviously. And depending on what you ate will, how much sugar and everything, the different variations of the food or whatever will depend on how much your insulin spikes. But your insulin rises after you eat, obviously. When you condense that time down to, like we were talking here now, this 3 or 4 hour window, you're condensing you're not having any insulin spike those other 20 hours. Again, this is not proven. This is my opinion. I'm guessing it's got something to do with that mechanism.
Okay.
But bottom line is the research has shown muscle retention much better with intermittent fasting.
Right.
From a hormonal aspect. Like I said, it's just they've been able to prove that. So
I would definitely attest to that.
I would too, 100%. And would you say your energy levels?
Yeah.
I don't think that's. I don't think that's a placebo. There is something there.
Throughout the day, I'd say I have more energy, and then the thing is, because I don't like to break my fast with one huge meal. I like to have 3 little meals within that.
I do a snacking thing to start with. Yeah, same.
So if I.
Why do you do that?
Because if I do the huge meal, I get super tired after it.
Yes, I would agree.
So and now that I've been fasting for so long, if I break my fast early in the day, if I have a breakfast at 10 or 11 and it's significant size, I'll notice that I get super tired, I wouldn't say super tired, but more tired throughout the day than I would be if I was fasting.
Yes, I completely agree.
So it's not even necessarily I started fasting and wow, I have so much energy, but going back to eating earlier, I'll notice a difference and I'll just feel like I don't have as much energy as I did the day before.
And here's the thing, we know why that happens. So well, I shouldn't say we know. Okay, so guys, everything with the human body, we're still learning so much. But we have a pretty good idea. I mean, everyone has experienced the 2 o'clock crash. I'm pretty sure everyone has experienced it. Anyone that's worked a 9 to 5 job, you go to lunch around noon, you get back 12:30, 1 o'clock. Usually by 2 o'clock, you will hit that wall where you're damn, I'm tired as hell. That's your blood sugar dropping because you just raised it so high. That's what after you raise it, your insulin level rises to combat the blood sugar, so your body can actually use it. And then once your blood sugar is all used up, it drops below the level that it was originally at.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why you have it. So obviously, the larger the spike, the larger the drop down below average. Right? So that's that 2 o'clock.
Sense.
Yeah, that's that 2 o'clock crash that everyone feels. And it's funny, I was talking to my mom about, because when she first started, she's like, well, yeah, it's easy for you to say you don't have a 9 to 5 job. And I was like, listen, that's fair, but I could actually make the argument, if you have a 9 to 5 job, that's more reason to intermittent fast. If you don't have to plan a meal for the day, you don't have to prep anything, if you can wait till you get home at 5 o'clock at night to eat, then you just make your dinner.
Yeah.
And you eat.
That's what I do. I get off around 5.
So how much easier does that make your morning?
A lot easier.
Not having to plan food for the day. That would take a lot of stress out of a lot of people's lives.
And money-wise, too.
100%.
Because you are eating less food.
Absolutely.
And so
and you're not, when you're at work, obviously sometimes you're going to want to eat at a restaurant or whatever it is, right?
The cafeteria.
The cafeteria.
Is I'd have to spend my own money to buy food at the
Absolutely.
cafeteria. But if I just hold off on that, I get home and eat the food I've already bought.
And so now this is, again, I see both sides, trust me, I do, but I could make the argument it's actually harder for me to intermittent or to fast when I'm home. The more often I'm home, the more often I associate that with wanting to eat.
Yeah.
So if you're working, your 8 to 10 hours job, and you're away from home, if you just stay busy, a lot of people will realize they like that break, not because they need to eat, but because they don't have to work. They get that break from doing whatever they were doing. But now we've associated that with food so much to a point that everyone just needs to eat at that time.
Yeah.
But if we just realize, like, it's just a habit that we're in.
It's just a habit.
Yeah, it's just a habit that we're in. We don't necessarily need to eat that much food or that often.
Right.
We really don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And that's what I've noticed is, like, after I've started fasting, I've noticed, I'm like, wow, I really don't need to eat this food. But before I was like, oh, if I don't eat this food, I'm going to lose muscle, I'm not going to gain weight.
Yeah, same.
All this. But
same.
Like, you really do tune into your body more once you start fasting. And I'd say give it about like a week to get used to it, because again, it's just breaking that habit. Because like I know when I really started getting strict with it, the first like 3 or 4 days were rough. Like I was so hungry throughout the day. But that
I would agree.
But that wasn't actually because I needed the food. It was just
you were in a habit of needing to eat.
My body thought I needed to eat. But then once you get past that and you really tune in, you're only going to eat when you want to eat, and you're only going to eat what you want to eat, really.
Well, okay, so, and this is, again, now, guys, remember, not nutritionist, and I'm not a fasting expert by any stretch, but one thing I did tell my mom when she started fasting is don't restrict yourself on what you can eat.
Yeah.
Would you agree that that's a good thing?
I would say, I mean, I still have probably, like, especially at this time of the year, we have like sweets around the apartments.
Yeah, same.
I'll still have one here or there.
Yeah.
But it's not like I'm like, oh, I can't have that. Intermittent fasting, I feel like, allows you to have a little more wiggle room with
I would agree. And it's not like we're stashing a house full of sweets, but now I will say I've fallen out of that. It used to be where if I did buy a pack of Oreos, I would eat the entire thing within 2 days. Yeah. Like they'd just be done. Like that, I would just eat them as. So now and Sia's helped a lot with this, but now I'm to a point where I can have sweets in the house and it doesn't bother me. I just won't. If I'm not hungry, I won't eat them.
Right.
But that's again though. I attribute that to when I started this fasting. I told myself, okay, I need to break the habit I was in, because I was in a bad habit of like restricting myself for so many days, and then I would binge really bad. Okay. So I really wanted to break myself of that habit, and I feel like a lot of people do that. Like, you know, they work their 9-to-5 job Monday through Friday, and then when the weekend comes, they're just like, fuck it, I just want to eat whatever the hell I want to eat. Yeah. That's the way I was anyway, so then I would just binge for 2 days straight. I would drink as much alcohol as I wanted. You know, I would eat as much bad food as I possibly could. I wanted to change that. I wanted to get out of that constant like binging. And so I feel like fasting allowed me to do that. And like I said, I told myself when I started, I was like, I'm not going to restrict to what I want to eat. If I want to eat 4 pieces of bread, I'm going to eat 4 pieces of bread. Like, you know what I mean? If I wanted a bag of chips, or if I wanted to have a soda, like I would have a soda. It's worked for me. I feel like my relationship with food is so much better now than it used to be. And like I said, my appetite is so much better now. Food isn't constantly like, you know, what I still think about food a lot. Don't get me wrong. I think a lot of people do, but
for me, it's like, I've been doing this for so long, where it's like I don't really remember what it was like to not have my relationship with food be like this, and to not have this habit. Yeah. Because I've been doing this like on and off unintentionally for like 3 or 4 years. Yeah. So like I don't really have anything to compare it to. Sure. But I just know that what I'm doing right now works for me, and I wouldn't change it. So. Yeah, I would agree. And like I said, it's not for everyone. Yeah. But I would say, like, I feel bad, honestly. I feel like it should be for everyone, but when you say it's not for everyone, I just feel like some people aren't going to be disciplined enough to do it. Sure. And absolutely, and you're always going to have those people. I feel like everyone should try it. Yeah, I don't have a problem. Okay, so here's the thing. When I say it's not for everyone, like I said, I use those athletes as an example. Yeah. I wouldn't have any of my athletes that are trying to gain weight, I wouldn't recommend fasting. But what if, so you just said the study about it actually retains your muscle. Yep. So what if they actually do gain muscle faster? Well, hold on though, but that's compared to restricted calorie dieting. Okay. Don't confuse that with, because at their age, they need as much, time out, not as much, but I would say their bodies are growing at a rate that they need a lot more nutrients than like what you and I need. Actually, I shouldn't say, your body is still changing. How old are you? 19.
Yeah, so like your body is still, you're not even close to physically mature. My body is not going to need what Luke Barons would need because he's training every day. His body, your body is adapting so much more at that age. He's a junior in high school. But again, you're not that far off. You need a lot more, calorie, and you're very active. So, but again, that's just a testament to say you can fast and be as active as you are. I mean, you would still say you're very active, right?
Yeah.
Technically not an athlete, I guess, but you still are an athlete. I mean, you play.
At my job, I walk like 8 to 10 miles a day.
Yeah.
And I still work out almost every day.
There you go.
I still play basketball every week.
Yeah. So you're still like, obviously, like I said, I would still consider you, an athlete, and you're doing the fasting pretty religiously, I would say, right? And like I said, when we first started, there are days when Sia and I will really want to have like a bakery donut or something, and we'll eat at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning.
Which is okay.
Yeah, like it's not the end of the world. I would say I do notice on those days I definitely get hungrier.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
I am hungrier later in the day.
Pay attention to how you feel on those days.
Yeah. But it makes sense. Again, like it makes sense with our body why when you eat earlier, you're going to, that drop in blood sugar again after you come back, you're going to want to eat more food. The more often you eat, the more food you will eat. The less often you eat, the less food you need to eat. I know that's oversimplifying things, but honestly, like if everyone could just take that out of this, right? Like going 1 or 2 days without food is not a bad thing. And I used to be in that boat where I thought that was the absolute worst thing you could possibly do. I'm sorry, guys, I was wrong. If any of my old, past athletes are listening to this, like I've preached the 6 meals a day as many times. And again, for athletes, fasting, is, whether they want to do it or not. But yeah, like I said, for muscular retention, you're talking about compared to reduced calorie diets where you're eating, more frequently throughout the day. Yes.
Going back to the extended day fast.
Yep.
What I do remember when I've done it is I'd probably be hungry for about the first 8 to 10 hours, but there's a certain threshold you get past and your hunger just goes away.
Yeah.
And like you're not even hungry, and then I feel super clear-headed.
Yes.
Like
absolutely,
insanely, like alert and aware.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
Okay, so it's funny because I've actually so I didn't deer hunt that much this year, but I actually experimented this when I was hunting. I did it one of the extended day fasts. It was like 46 hours. The whole second day of my fast, I was deer hunting. I was out in a tree stand. That was definitely a thing. Your focus. And again, this makes sense if you think about it from an evolutionary standpoint. So, like when we were hunter-gatherers, right? If you went, I only went 2 days. Could you imagine if you went, like it references this in the book. Could you imagine if when we went 4 or 5 days without eating, could you imagine what would happen if our brain said, "Oh shit, I'm shutting down now because I don't have any food"? No, it actually does the exact opposite. It says, "Oh shit, you need to find food. Let's heighten everything. Heighten your alertness. Heighten your focus."
Because it needs you to get that kill.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to be able. Yeah, so
that is
when we talk about like, and again, I don't think there's not enough research with like athleticism and people doing extended day fasts, at the highest level professional athletes. It'd be interesting to see though, wouldn't it? Because think about it, if, evolutionary, if you just put the pieces together, it makes sense. Right. Like why we are more alert and why we're more focused when we fast.
That does make sense.
It does. Yeah. And it's not a coincidence. Like especially when I'm like making videos and stuff, my creativity is just better. I don't know, like I know that's just subjective evidence, right? Like this, there's no study saying this, but I don't think there is anyway. If there is, pardon me,
But I don't think there needs to be though. Like if it's working for
you. If it works for me, it works for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't try to go.
I also want to stress this. and I've always stressed this to you, I feel like, but take what we're saying and do your own research.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, would you say I've always stressed that to you?
Yeah, but I also feel like
you can listen to other people's evidence,
I
though.
don't think it should, at a certain point, just stop listening to what people say and just figure out what works for you.
Well, so when I say do your own research, I'm talking experiment yourself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, again, whether you want to look at, like, studies and stuff like that, I feel like I'm, in the spectrum, I'm too far that way probably, where I always want to see scientific data backing up why we do the shit that we do. But I feel like I'm a little too far on that end of the spectrum where, like, if it works for me, fuck it, that's what I'm going to do.
Right.
Like, that, it doesn't matter if it works for you or works for 10 other people. Like, if I'm finding it working for me, then I don't really care. Like, and I'm going to keep doing it until it doesn't work for me.
Right.
But the fasting, guys, again, the message I really wanted to relay is, like, if you're struggling losing weight and you haven't tried it, like, just give it a try.
Yeah.
You're not going to die if you don't eat.
So just explain, for someone who's never fasted like this, explain, like break it down what exactly they need to do.
Okay, so for beginners, complete beginners, guys, if you want to start fasting, what I would recommend is just try skipping breakfast. If you don't skip breakfast, delay breakfast. So, if you normally eat breakfast at 7 o'clock in the morning before you leave for work, let's say, try not eating till 10, 11, noon, something like that. If you start with a noon to 8 window, or whatever it is, that's an 8-hour feeding window. Yeah. Literally every single person I feel like could do that if they wanted to. Yeah. It's not that difficult. If you just waited till noon to eat your first meal, you don't drink coffee. Mm-hmm. I drink black coffee when I'm fasting. Mm-hmm. I've done my blood sugar test on coffee. It does raise my blood sugar barely, but I don't even get above 100 milligrams, so I don't even worry about it. Water and coffee is honestly all I drink when I'm fasting. So you say
just start with waiting till noon to eat your first
meal? And see, now here's the thing. This is the thing that's going to get a lot of people, is the whole nothing in your coffee. Because a lot of people struggle with, well, A, they need coffee in the morning, and B, they need to put something in their coffee. That's where we're going to get that's where I've had a lot of people say, like, well, if I can't add cream to my coffee. So, honestly, guys, I don't have a good answer for you there. I would
say just break that habit.
So me personally, I would say, like, make yourself only drink black coffee.
Or no coffee
at all. I mean, if you really think you can't have coffee without cream, are you really needing that coffee then, is what I would say, honestly. I feel like it's a major problem, honestly. Like, I mean, places, and I love Cabin Coffee, don't get me wrong. I drink Cabin Coffee still. Have you ever had one of their turtle mochas? Mm-hmm. Bro, they're so good.
I'm sure they are.
I'm
not a big coffee guy.
Yes, you aren't. You've never been, though. But see, I wasn't either. I didn't get into drinking coffee, honestly, until...
I mean, the thing is, it's not terrible, but I just don't want to get that habit.
That's fair.
Like, I feel like I need... Because there's so many people that...
have to go to Starbucks.
Yeah, because they just need that to function.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't want to turn into that, so I'm not even going to...
And I would say I do generally have coffee every single day. But it's nowhere... Like, I've gone days without coffee, obviously. It's not like I, need it to function in the morning.
Yeah.
But again... when we're talking fasting, really just try to not eat until noon. Like noon is if you can just skip breakfast and just make that your first meal, that's a huge start for anyone. The other thing I tell people is the longer you can fast, the better. Like I don't feel like that's a bad thing to tell people. So now, obviously, anyone can take it to too extreme. Right? So the guy that wrote this book, I think it's Jimmy Moore is the one that talks about it.
Yeah.
I believe the longest he ever did was 17 days. Don't quote me on that. But, guys, I'm not saying to do a 17-day fast. I don't know. So, like, most of the research I've read to get the effect of like a lot of the benefits from extended day fasting that we see, that we've studied at least, and that we know exist, like 3 to 5 days is like a sweet, magic window.
Yeah.
I don't like using the magic window, but
I think I'm gonna start doing that.
yeah. Well, so my next one I really want to do is a 3-day, and I haven't done a 3-day fast yet. So again, yeah, like take everything that we're saying, make it work for you. But yeah, I mean. I got my mom and stepdad. They did extended day. They were on the train of they never thought they would be able to do fasting at all, right. And then they did a 48-hour fast. Oh, I think they did a 46-hour fast. They had broke it a couple hours.
I think that you shouldn't just do the 48-hour fast and just jump right back into eating.
No,
I feel like you should.
Yeah.
You should still do the short time windows.
You should start intermittent. Don't start extended day. You don't need to.
I would say just don't go 2 days without eating, then just jump back into your old habits, just eating.
Yeah, I would agree.
All day.
I would agree. Start consistently just skipping breakfast. Honestly,
and then you can start integrating the days in 2 days.
Exactly. Yeah. I would really. I'm gonna be interested. We should do a part 2 after you've done some extended day. Okay. Because like I said, I'm going to do a 3-day fast here eventually. I just don't know when. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm for sure gonna start doing 1 to 2.
Yeah.
3.
So maybe we'll have a follow-up one.
Okay.
To this. What do you think? Do you think we answered any questions that everyone would have?
I feel like I said everything I had on my mind. So.
Like I said, guys, I honestly I would try it. Mm-hmm. I really. There's not really. That's the thing with fasting is there's not. I wouldn't say there's like a downside to it.
Right.
There really. I mean, and
there's
again, if you.
To lose.
Yeah, and if the first day you try it, if you only make it till 10 a.m., it's okay. Try it again the next day. Like it's not that big a deal.
Right.
The longer you can push your first meal back, I notice I feel better when I don't eat. If I make my eating window, some days my eating window is only like an hour or 2. Right. There's a lot of days where I just
have that too.
Yeah, and I feel completely fine. Yeah. I honestly do. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people would if they just tried it. Mm-hmm. But it's getting over that. And I know a lot of people are going to watch us and say, like, there's no way I could fast. I would just get too hungry. Yeah. You don't. I don't know. Like, there's nothing. I don't know the mechanism why we don't get really hungry, but you just don't. Everyone that fasts says the same thing. Like, you just don't get. Right. Yeah. The hungriest you get. Is that a word? Hungriest? I don't know.
It can be a word.
Yeah, we're going to say it's a word. The hungriest you get, in my opinion, is when you're eating more frequently throughout the day. Yeah. Would you agree? Yeah. That's the most hunger I've ever had.
At that point, I don't even think it's hunger. I think people just eat because
I think it's more habit. Yeah, I agree. But how much of our hunger is habit?
Right. And you'll notice that when you start fasting.
Yeah, you'll be able to distinguish between the two. Like, oh, I would normally go for something sweet right now just because that's what I would always do. Maybe I don't need that. Maybe I'm not really hungry. Maybe it's just my brain's telling me to, tricking me into trying to eat something. Right. That happens a lot, I think. Mm-hmm. So, guys, give it a try. Like I said, you're not out anything. You might be surprised with how much you like it. Right?
Yeah.
All right, Keegan, that was good. All right, bro.